Prem review. I have to take you way back in time. I have to take you back to the 30th of August, which was a Tuesday. We have midweek games this week. Here's the first talking point, and it's going to resonate right now. I just watched them lose in the Champions League as well, and that is Southampton beating Chelsea. I think I've had more rights than wrongs in the things I set out at the very first video where I was predicting the Premiership table and doing the early Premiership predictions. I think overall I called this one a mile off. A lot of Chelsea fans were disgruntled. They got in touch with me. They said, Rich, you're down on Chelsea. You got an anti-Chelsea bias. Because what I initially said was they look brittle. They've signed all these defenders, but they don't look defensively cohesive. They don't have a goal-scoring threat. I think the Lukaku transfer, the way they bungled it. And listen, I'll back too, Kel. I'll back the gaffer over a player every time. It has to be that way. But I think that is going to go down as one of the most weird, fucked up, expensive flops of all time. And if they'd had a much more harmonious relationship, I'll tell you now, Chelsea would be in a much better place to start of this season. But anyway, Chelsea lost to Southampton. It's just simply a matter of defending. They're not defending well right now. If you watched the Southampton Man United game, you know what I'm talking about. It felt like Southampton couldn't score for toffee. It felt like their strikers were off. They created a lot of chances, but didn't get a lot on target. But then if you go back and watch that game, Varane, Martinez, they just did an amazing job. There was literally no space in the box. And Dalot as well put in a great shift. Malacia, they were all tracking the runs. They weren't playing zonal marking. There was no room for error. They picked a man and they stuck with a man, and there was just no room in the box. Southampton had a lot of possession. You could arguably say they were the better team in that game, and yet they come away with nothing, just simply because of a great defensive performance by United. Now, you compare and contrast it to this Chelsea performance. For their goals, I mean, especially for the Armstrong goal, which come right at the end of half-time, and this was after Chelsea were in the lead, he's got about 4 yards of space in the box. That wouldn't have happened against United. That isn't going to happen against any top teams this season. It's not going to happen against anyone who's a legitimate contender for Champions League football. And Chelsea are all over the place. There wasn't much of a bright point, to talk about. Like, Sterling got another goal. Sterling's going to do Sterling things. I think he was a great signing. But the goals have to come from someone up top. And yes, they've signed Aubameyang. But for me, it's not going to be enough. They've got to recognize figurehead now. I tell you who they fucking would love to have right now. I know he's getting on, but Giroud. I never thought I would say this in my life, but I would feel better about Chelsea having Giroud just in and around the squad. If he'd stuck around and hadn't gone to Milan and they still had Giroud, he's a target man, he's strong, he brings the midfield into play, he's got a canny knack of getting those goals. Big goals too. Giroud is a guy who, I don't like the looks of him in general, but the record speaks for itself. He's got some huge goals for Arsenal, huge goals for Chelsea. They've just got nobody like that right now. Ziyech is fucking wretched. He just looks all out of sorts in ways that I can't quite do justice to in terms of expressing it. Havertz, can anyone explain to me, what was Chelsea's philosophy here coming into this transfer season? Sign 20 fucking defenders, because of course, as we'll get to when we talk about Leicester, Fofana's gone for 70 mil. Fofana is going to be in this team as well. So you sign a million defenders, and then what? Mason Mount's got to get you the goals. What are you even thinking about here? Mason Mount was diabolical in this game as well. They don't have a good enough attack to have a leaky defense, and they do have a leaky defense. They're bedding in new players, and it just looks all out of fucking sorts for me. So I wasn't surprised Southampton got something against Chelsea. As I said, I probably had them. I think I had them at 5th or 6th in my Prem prediction. I think 6th. Now that Ten Hag is sorting out United, maybe Chelsea could go to 7th and United could kick up the table. But we'll wait and see. As I said, halfway through the season, I'm going to maybe do a little revision and see if anything's changed. But Chelsea have just got all sorts of problems. The other thing we have to talk about is we've had our first casualty of the season. Now, I was telling you, go bet the farm on Lampard being the first to get sacked. And if not him, maybe Stevie G. Because because they're all on fraud watch. Turns out, I hope you didn't bet your farm because you've just lost your farm. Because Scott Parker went on to Discord after they lost 9-0 against Liverpool, and I told everybody in the football channel, by the way, if you want to have some banter on match day, get into the Discord, there'll be a link in the description. I did go in and I say, I think Scott Parker's jumped to the head of the queue, and I'll tell you why. Anybody can lose fucking 9-0 to Liverpool. Liverpool are capable of giving those Leicester teams an absolute spanking, and Bournemouth are really going to push Derby's record for worst Premiership team to the absolute limits, I think, this season. But at the end of the day, what got Scott Parker fired ain't that you lost 9-0. It ain't that you lost 4-0 the week before. It's that you fucking came out, you said the players are shit, and the board have fucked us. It is one of the most ridiculous. Like, this man just wanted to get fired. Like, he'd had enough. It's like being in Football Manager and you've applied for all jobs. That's what he's done. That's what Scott Parker did right there. It makes zero sense to do what he did. I can't figure it out. Like, he said, my team is not equipped for the Premier League. It's like, how are you gonna motivate your troops? The guys are already getting their asses handed to them week in, week out. You need to galvanize. You need to get a response from these players. And you've just said to your entire squad, you're not Premier League caliber, son. You're not good enough. All right, okay. Well, fair enough. You might be able to ride that out, kick some arses, get through to the next transfer window and strengthen, see where you are in the table. But instead, he turned around and also said, and the board hasn't helped us out. We needed to strengthen in the transfer window, and we're told there's no money available. Yeah, you're fucking Bournemouth, homeboy. Like, you are a small market city playing with the big boys. You've got to make do. And Scott Parker, I don't know, he's a bit of a pussy, and he's a bit of a pussy-o, you know what I mean? If you can't motivate the troops, step aside and let somebody who can do it, because, as we saw, they got a fucking reaction, didn't they, against Forest? Hell of a game. One of the best games of the season, incredibly. Bournemouth Forest. A fucking, clown fiesta, sure, but very entertaining. And at the end of the day, it's put Eddie Howe into a new perspective for me, a new light, seeing him at Newcastle. I've got an appreciation for just how good a job he actually did, and just how good a coach he actually was. Spoiler, when Eddie Howe was announced for Newcastle, I was like, nah, I want to, because I'm like this. I've got a bias towards European managers, particularly Italians. I'm a big fan of the Italian way of doing things. I want an Ancelotti. I want a Conte. I wanted Pochettino. I know he's not Italian, but I would, I'll take a Pochettino as well, right? I want a cultured European manager that understands, that's when to go Catenaccio and when to go tiki-taka. That's what I want, right? And when I got Eddie Howe, I was like, we got some UK tracksuit manager, probably a full kit wanker in his spare time, and it's going to suck balls, and he's going to give John Joe Shelby a contract extension, and we're going to really struggle. I was wrong. There you go. There's one of the ones that got wrong. I think he's done a fantastic job. He's an incredible coach. And looking at what Scott Parker's done in the aftermath, Scott Parker's just not got the it factor. He's not going to inspire the troops. Eddie Howe is a guy that'll fucking, he really demands more of you, and he gets it out here. So yeah, Eddie Howe is a legit coach. I realise what a great job he did at Bournemouth now. And Scott Parker, glad he's gone. Fuck him. That's like some fucking suicidal shit to come out after a 9-0 battering. Just keep your head down and don't say anything ridiculous. Don't turn on the board, for fuck's sake. So he had to go. Now, next in line isn't even Lampard again. They picked up a point against Leeds, which, by the way, spoiler, Everton are still one of the worst footballing teams in the league. I am not wrong about that. They have about 30% possession every game, and that's their good games. That's their home games, and they're grinding out draws and scoring scuffed goals and all this other bullshit. They're still playing terrible football. They're still going to get got. They're still going to get found out for real. But next on the chopping block is Rodgers. We'll get to that when we talk about Leicester. Anyway, let's get through to Wednesday. We had Gerrard getting found out. Obviously, Arsenal with a 2-1. And Man City spanked Forest 6-0. Bournemouth got a draw there against Wolves, 0-0. Maybe a good result in retrospect to the hidings that they just had. But here's what I want to talk about here. Let's talk a little bit about West Ham. West Ham, for me, it's like I had them rated a bit higher up in the league. I think they were 5th or 6th when I did the predictions. I think they really need to get started soon. And they picked up a draw against Tottenham. And, at the end of the day, it was like one of those results where I think Tottenham probably should have snatched it. West Ham they were really unlucky in some areas. And I'm just going to repeat all of the points about West Ham. Like, their big players aren't showing up. I know Soucek got a goal here, but Rice, remember, again, this is what blows my mind about Rice. I'm going to say this all fucking season until he pulls his finger out his arse. David Moyes said Declan Rice is a £150 million player in the current market. When's he going to play like that? I look at, actual fucking midfielders that are bought for a fraction of that price. I think about Eriksen and how he's done well at United. I still wouldn't have signed him, and I still stand by that. But I look at Eriksen's masterclass against Arsenal. He was there on a free transfer. Declan Rice is on 150 mil, and he just fucking sleepwalks through games. So now, bollocks to that. I'm not having it. And, of course, it was another week that Antonio didn't fucking turn up. But here's the key thing to it. What I like about what this Spurs team are doing, they've got a bit of steel to them now. They're the complete antithesis of Chelsea. Like, when Spurs play bad, if you look at the number of points they picked up from losing positions 5 games into this season, I think they've probably done it in 2 or 3 other games. And they're unbeaten. They're 3rd. They've got 11 points. Kane is obviously banging in goals for fun. He's kind of turned the corner in his relationship with Tottenham. Kulishevsky's been Conte's best signing, and they've brought in Perisic now. I really like the composition of this team. I think Spurs are going to get better over the course of the season. Remember, Son, I just call him Son. But anyway, Son hasn't I don't think he's scored yet this season. He might have got a goal on the opening day. I can't remember. But anyway, he's hitting the bar, hitting the post, he's getting into positions, he's making all of these runs. At the end of the day, with Richarlison that they brought in, who I said was a luxury signing that they absolutely didn't need to sign, but he's there. Dyer's come back into the team and is looking really good. I think Spurs are going to get better and better and better. Conte's fired up for it. The drop off from Chelsea and the fact that Ten Hag has got a big job, don't let the wins fool you. Man United still got a lot of work to do. This is the improvement you get. This is just the bump. What they're going through now, dropping Maguire did this. That's all you had to do to get this bump. Still a long way to go for United, in my opinion. So I'm feeling really good about Tottenham top 4 based on what I saw here. But let's talk about the big one from this week. On Wednesday, Liverpool, Newcastle United. Now, obviously, I'm a Newcastle United fan. It's in my DNA. This game always gives me the chills, the willies, the shakes, the shivers, because it's historically one, it's the 4-3 when Liverpool beat us with the late Collymore goal. You can go watch the full game on YouTube. It's one of the best fucking games of football for a neutral you'll ever see. The resulting fixture produced another 4-3 the next season where we nearly got a draw from 3-0 down, only for Warren Barton to be a fucking shithouse, but, whatever. Anyway, but the point is, historically, it's always been a great game of football. It's a game I've always looked forward to, and this one was a little bit of a different beast because Liverpool really needed something out of this game. Newcastle United had just signed Isaac. We'll talk about that in a second. And we're looking to pick up points on the road. Liverpool, very hard place to go to. They've had a slow start to the season. They're still going to be right up there come the end of the season. And I've got to say, this is one of those games where it's I hate to be that bitter northerner conspiracy theorist wanker type, but again, if you go on YouTube and you look at all the fan videos that were being uploaded right now, everyone's incandescent about this. Liverpool were the better team. Liverpool deserved to win this game. I'm not so pathetic I can't admit that, right? But we did enough for a draw. And the refs, and that's going to be a constant theme of this episode of Prem Review, because what did I tell you? The week 3, I think it was. I said the Premier League's got the best football in the fucking world, but the worst referees. Absolute dog shit, Sunday League standard. If you can't look at a monitor and get it right, if you can't look at a watch and get it right, get the fuck off the pitch. I don't care about your respect campaign. Get people in who can do the fucking job. They have to be out there. I don't don't care. Bring them in from fucking overseas if you have to. Go get some of those Italian referees that are feeling a bit aggrieved that they're not getting enough money. You know, I think there was some like union action over there for it. Go get them, because this shower of cunts are destroying the fucking league. And I'm gonna tell you, I saw it here in this Liverpool game and I thought, this is fucking outrageous. So keep in mind, I'm not going to complain about how we could have had another goal, blah, blah, whatever. It is what it is, right? There were some ropey decisions, but here's the key one in this game. How the fuck, and I've never seen this is like some Fergie time bullshit. How the fuck are you going to score a 98th minute goal in a game that had fucking 5 minutes of added time? Which, by the way, spoiler, that was fucking generous to clock it up to 5 in the first fucking place. And so, lo and behold, Liverpool have been allowed to play until they win. The statistics will tell you its own story. We had less than 30% possession. We had 2 shots on target. We didn't get a fucking corner all game, right? You cannot say in any conceivable universe we deserve to win this game, and we barely did enough for a point on paper, but we should have had a point. That's the facts. Liverpool are wasteful right now with all the possession they've got. They're still waiting for a few more people to come back till they make the Voltron that's going to kick up the league. And it's just absolutely fucking insane to me. I have never seen this. 5 minutes, and it got to 96 minutes, and there's no extra to blow your whistle. 97 minutes, blow your whistle. By the time they scored the winner, right, which was a bungled clearance because everyone was blowing out their arse and just like walking on eggshells. By the time Liverpool got the fucking winner, it was 97 minutes and 32 seconds. So you've gone over 2.5 minutes over the allotted time. I've never seen it. And at the end of the day, shit like that matters. It really harms the integrity of the league. Now, there was like one positive I could take away from this game, and that was the signing of Isak. He's hit the ground running. Looks great, looks to be worth a 60 mil. Going to be a great signing for us. Utterly confident about that. He was the man of the, well, you know, he was like our man of the match. But I thought, you could make a compelling argument. He was the best player on the pitch, even when Liverpool won and played us off the park. Every time he got the ball, he looked lively. Every time he went forward, he looked to create things, kept the ball well, can beat players, made some good runs, gave the defenders a fucking pretty torrid time. You know, and remember, we're still talking about Van Dijk, right? So at the end of the day, like, super happy with him. Gets a goal. We should have had a point coming out of this, just based on the reality of the game. And what really fucking pissed me off, match of the day, like, nobody, by the way, in the highlights, it was all Klopp smile face. And I love Klopp. I've got a man crush on Klopp. I'm all right about that. I'm not saying I hate Klopp. I haven't turned to the dark side, right? I'm not a Klopp hater. But nobody asked this guy, like, do you think you should have had another 2.5 minutes? Nobody was raging about it on match of the day. Because when it happens to Newcastle, when it happens to the northern clubs, when it happens to smaller clubs, no one gives a fuck. Same as when it was United doing it to everyone. That ref you got to have a word with him. There is no world that it was 97. There was 7.5 minutes of added time. There's no world. So we were done there, and that wasn't even brought up as a talking point. But as we'll get to, more terrible things to come. So we trundle forward to the Saturday, and what are we going to talk about here? Well, it's all about VAR. This was it. This is what proved to me that this league has got a real problem with referees. And I'm going to try and remember them all. I made some notes coming into it. Because even Alan Shearer, who's a right boring bastard, he was spewing about this. And everyone's been spewing about it. In fact, in the aftermath, the league have come out and said, yes, even with VAR, we got 2 decisions wrong. Spoiler, there was ones that people didn't even fucking talk about. And they're going to review their policies. And by the way, spare a thought for, I think it was Huddersfield. The fucking Hawkeye goal line technology in the Championship didn't work and denied them a fucking... Like, guys, like, you do understand understand that, like, there's just an objective right and wrong. And all the apologies from the Professional Game Match Officials Limited conglomerate, or whatever the fuck the refs are called these days, that's not going to change any of that. The bottom line is, you have got to get these things right, and if you don't, there has to be penalties. People need to lose their jobs. Like, if a player acts like a cunt, they get suspended. They get suspended for 3 games. I mean, we've seen some absolute nonsensical shit. Like, a ref won't think twice about, like, you score a 95th minute fucking winner, right? And run into the crowd and take your shirt off and it's electric. And you picked up a booking in the first half chasing a ball and it was a soft yellow card, but you just tank it because it's a yellow card. And now you've took your shirt off in understandable circumstances to take your shirt off, and here comes the piggy-faced wanker in his black suit, his black clothing, his black uniform, and he comes over, right, and he books you again and gets you sent off and suspended for 3 games. There's no common sense, and that ref, they back him to the hilt, by the way. So if players have to live under that level of fucking scrutiny, then when a referee's going to get suspended for 3 games for fucking up, like, you've got slow motion now, you have got multiple angles. You've even got another cunt. So you have 2 sets of eyes minimum on this shit all the time. You got linesmen to fucking help you out, right? You got all the time in the world, no pressure, just make the right decision, and you get it fucking wrong. Fuck you, suspended for 3 games. Now we'll fuck with your paper. How about that? I'm sick of this shit. I've been talking about the protection referees get from the Premier League for years. It's ridiculous that you will not encourage people to behave well, to do a good job, if there are no consequences for doing the contrary. And I saw the most pitiable, pathetic response again from PGMOL. They were like saying, yeah, well, the problem we've got is because referees get abused, people don't want to be referees. And I think about all the talent we've lost. That was an official statement in response to them getting 2 major VAR decisions wrong that could literally impact on teams to the tune of £100 million. Won't somebody think of the refs? Not fucking me, pal. Absolutely not. Right? And yeah, we were on the receiving end again, because why wouldn't we be? Those are my thoughts on it, just broadly about referees. They're cunts, and they get away with being cunts. But let's just go down. So Chelsea were gifted 2 points, right? Good old Chelsea. Absolutely struggling again against West Ham. This was West Ham's best performance of the season. Declan Rice's best performance of the season. But obviously, Cornet was in there. Antonio was lively as fuck. This was his best game of the season. And this is why I'm a West Ham believer still, because if these guys play well, you've got a decent squad. I know everyone's on Paqueta, but I think there's enough there. I think if they stay injury-free, I think West Ham can get European football again, no doubt in my mind. But anyway, there is a nothing challenge on Mendy. Basically, Cornet went in for it. Mendy's made a fucking mess of it because Mendy's not having a good season. Spoiler, he's another part of the Chelsea problem paradigm. And they go up and they equalise from it. Everyone's loving it. Everything's popping off. It's 2-2. It's been a blood and thunder derby. 90th minute equaliser for West Ham, deserved. And then, apropos of nothing, I don't even know why he's gone over to look at the VAR for the goal. He looks over, and in the challenge, which was completely legitimate, a player has brushed his foot against Mendy, and Mendy, in embarrassment for his performance, probably for all of this season, he's decided to go down and fake, my shoulder hurts, my shoulder hurts. And the ref has given that as a foul and ruled out a perfectly good goal. Now, Tuchel came out, and listen, I like Tuchel, but this is a cunt move. Like, he came out and said it was the right decision. Definitely fucking wasn't. He said it was lucky the referee noticed, but it was the right call. Definitely was not the right call in any fucking world. It is a ludicrously bad call, and the referees agree that it's a ludicrously bad call. Now, it's a ludicrously bad call. That means, at the time I'm recording this, West Ham are in the bottom fucking 3 because of that. And Chelsea get to sit in the lofty position of like fucking 8th or something. 5th. They would have been 8th. So, complete nonsense that was allowed to happen. The other one, Newcastle Palace. a 0-0 draw. Although, by the way, ridiculously entertaining game. Don't know how it stayed goalless. There were chances abound for both teams. Really good game of football. But we had a perfectly good own goal ruled out because a defender pushed an attacker into the goalkeeper. Nothing the Newcastle player can do about it. The ball went in off another defender and the goal was ruled out for interference onto the goalkeeper. And again, you can watch this result. There's no way. If anything, it's just a pen. Like, it's so mad that one didn't stand. And again, the refs came out and said, yeah, that was a bad one. I don't know how you look at a VAR screen and see someone do this into the back of a player and then conclude that the goalkeeper is the real victim when the goalkeeper gets touched. Absolute bollocks and bullshit. But at the end of the day, I think there's a couple of problems in the Premier League right now. One, we need to go back to goalkeepers being recognised as actual players, because I see it called all the time, where if you stand anywhere near a keeper and a keeper runs into you, the attacking player is getting flagged for an infraction, and it shouldn't be like that. It didn't used to be like that. It wasn't like that in the glory days of the Premier League. Keepers had to be able to fucking handle themselves. Could you imagine that weak shit from like a Peter Schmeichel or a David fucking Seaman? Fuck off. If you were an attacker, you better come correct. They would have fucked you up if you were backing into them. No questions about it. So, absolute ridiculous the protection these like pussy goalkeepers get these days. And on top of that, referees are just looking to give those bullshit calls even when you present them with a perfect fucking his multiple angle view. You've seen everything the fan has seen at home and you've still got it wrong. Here's the one people aren't even talking about. Another fantastic game of football came on the Sunday. A 5-2 Brighton Hove Albion victory over Leicester. Leicester haven't took the lead in the first minute. But McAllister, not to be confused with Gary McAllister, the legend, but McAllister, I believe an Argentinian player, scored a fucking outrageous goal. It would have been goal of the season. It's mental. It's a free kick. It's come in. It's been headed away. Second phase of football. Breaking from midfield. 25 yards out. He's hit this cunt as hard as he fucking can. It has flown into the top corner. I'm amazed it didn't burst out the back of the net. It is absolutely outrageous. Such a good fucking goal. And it is chalked off due to a high foot in the box from the free kick. I can't. And it wasn't even. The guy had his back looking at a ball coming over and was raising his leg over his own shoulder. He would have kicked himself in the motherfucking face before he kicked the defender. And just gone. That goal, gone forever. Goal of the season, gone forever. And the refs haven't even talked about that one, because guess what? I suppose it's okay we lost that moment, because Brighton won, didn't they? So no harm, no foul. But yes, you are ruining the game, refs. You are ruining the fucking game. By the way, just in general, I support the idea of VAR. I really, really do. But I am getting sick now of every time there's a goal, there's this trepidation. It's like everyone goes, everyone celebrates, and then it's ruled out. And it just feels like it happens all the time now. Like, the offside is another problem. Like, this is the first thing you do to fix the Prem. Those refs have got to learn what give the benefit of the doubt to the attacker means. Because I'm sick of VAR and the lines of death every time someone does a marginal run. And they don't even draw these lines from the same place each time. Sometimes your chin counts. Sometimes your chest counts. Sometimes your toe counts. Sometimes your knee counts. If a defender has their arm up, the arm counts. The arm's playing you. It's guys, simplify this shit. If someone's leaning forward to run and his feet are in line with the defender who hasn't predicted the run and he's leaning back, this does not make him offside. Never in a fucking month of Sundays. He's got the drop on him. He's got momentum. Let the fucking game flow, for fuck's sake. It's ridiculous. Every time there's a marginal call and an attacker has showed a bit of guile, out come the blue and red lines. It's offside this week. It's Rashford this week, so it's not offside. It's nonsense, guys. You fucked it up. You took something that could have just been a really useful tool and you've overthought it. Simplify it. Just simplify. Right, anyway. That's the VAR rant out the way. Let's get back to talking about the teams. I have to say it, Stevie G needed a result. We know you don't want to go and play Man City when you're on fucking fraud watch. Had to play City. Yes, it was at home. Well, here's another VAR talking point for you. This is the one I forgot. I knew I should have wrote it down. So anyway, Man City dropped points against Villa. Haaland is a cheat code. He is a human cheat code at the moment. He's scoring goals for fun. I saw a funny wanker. Someone linked me to a video of like some Chelsea fan pundit who makes YouTube videos, and he was going, nah mate, it's disrespectful. People saying Haaland's going to win the Golden Boot. It's disrespectful to the establishment, mate. It's disrespectful. You're not just going to come in the league and be the Golden Boot. It's like, mate, some people are the truth. Like, what are you talking about? Rory Jennings, that the cunt. Like, he literally went to the ends of the earth to try and construct a reason why Haaland... listen, you can say maybe he's not going to get the Golden Boot. I don't know what disrespectful to the establishment means. But if you've watched Haaland play for a second, you know his game is tailor-made for the Prem. And also, spoiler, tailor-made for a team like Man City. He's always in the box. He's always making runs. He's always playing off defenders. De Bruyne, Mahrez, Gundogan, they all feed off that shit. It's like absolutely fucking perfect. So it was a match made in heaven from the start. I said on day one, I thought Haaland was like, it's not hyperbole to see he's good value for the Golden Boot. He's on like 10 goals in like 5 games or something insane. So he's already got it. He'd have to get injured at this point for that not to come to fruition, I think. But that being said, I think City have got problems defensively. I think they really are going to leak goals, for a championship contending team this year. And this is why I think Liverpool are going to be able to catch up, because I think City have got in them. There's going to be a couple of games where they get tuned up. Like, maybe it might be a Liverpool game where Liverpool bang 4 past them. Who knows what the Manchester derby is going to look like now with Ten Hag. City are going to drop points. And to drop points to Villa, crazy. Like, really is crazy. But in the end, there was even a compelling argument to say Villa could have won this. There was a weird little moment where the ball went forward. Coutinho was not offside. He got the ball, brought it outside of the box, dribbled round the defender. The ref blew his whistle for offside after seeing a linesman's flag, and Coutinho banged it in the top corner. We'll never know whether that goal would have stood. We'll never know if the keeper could have got to it and saved it. We'll just never know, because at the end of the day, protocol wasn't followed. See this recurring thing? How hard is this? You know what the protocol is, ref. Yes, the linesman's put his flag up. Of course he has. But you wait until the end of the phase of play, and then you stop, and then you review. If that goal flies in the top corner legitimately, you go over to VAR, you see he was onside, it's all good. And Villa might have just won 2-1 against City, right? And delayed Steven Gerrard's execution. Crazy that a ref can't get that right. But in the end, having watched this game, it was very entertaining. There was some, they'll be super happy about Bailey getting up and going. De Bruyne and Haaland, Gundogan was great in this game. I thought Silva, it's City. They were very entertaining, but they didn't get it done. They didn't finish their dinner, so to speak. And I think overall, I think Villa were good value for a point here. They really responded well down the backslide. Could have stole it, could have nicked the winner at the end. But the big talking point here is obviously City missed an opportunity to go top. They could have jumped ahead of Arsenal and they would have still been there. They would have been top of the table 6 games in, 6 games played. Weren't to be. And I think City, as I said, they're going to drop... Lots of twists and turns this season for me. I did say we were going to talk about Leicester. So Leicester got absolutely battered 5-2, as we talked about. Brendan Rodgers is next to go for me. His position is untenable. I said at the start of the season, I felt Leicester needed to keep hold of Fofana, Tielemans and Maddison in the transfer window to have any chance of getting 14th or thereabouts in the league. They've sold Fofana. They've had a big drama around that. They're not playing good football. They're defensively fragile. Tielemans and Maddison look like they're a bit sad that they missed out on the transfer window. Yeah, people are saying, they miss Kasper Schmeichel and that stuff. I don't know how true that is. But at the end of the day, Leicester didn't sign anyone anyone. They didn't make any notable signings. They really needed one or two in there to bolster the team. And they've got a single point. They're rock bottom in the league. I still think Everton have looked worse as a footballing team, even though Leicester have looked worse as a defensive unit. But it just seems to me that Leicester have got, like, real problems. And I think Rodgers is checked out. So, first of all, he gets battered 5-2. An inscrutable press conference that he gave. Very much like the one that got Scott Parker fired. And I'll tell you this, Rodgers is a cunt. Like, he's a little scheming cunt. And he's probably thought to himself, like, I don't want it on my resume that I took Leicester, former Premier League winners, one of the greatest stories in sports. I'm the guy that comes in, makes them progressively worse to the point where they get relegated. So I think he's looking for an out, because he did this mad press conference where he was like saying shit like, you know, the boards, think we don't need players here, and if that's their position, I suppose I'll have to like it, and all this mad stuff. Like, get fucked, Rodgers. Like, at the end of the day, you've still got a good enough squad to not be rock bottom of the fucking Premier League after fucking 6 games. You've got a good enough squad to go out there and be competitive with Brighton and Hove Albion, who, again, I think's amazing. But, you want a tale of 2 managers. You want a tale that you couldn't get a better contrast than Rodgers, the fucking perennial fraud, and Potter, one of the most slept-on, underrated managers in world football, not just the Premier League. What he's done with Brighton is absolutely insane. It continues to be. So remember, they sold 2 of their best players. They're meant to be where Leicester are right now. They're not. They're battering the likes of Leicester. So, just ridiculous to see Rodgers. And then the Fofana drama, absolutely handled terribly, in my opinion. Fofana didn't get a proper send-off. He was training with the under-23s. Rodgers said his head had gone. And then Fofana came out on social media and said, listen, no hard feelings, but I would have thought the manager would have backed me to be professional at least. I'm paraphrasing there. But that's not what happened, like, at the end of the day, for whatever reason, Rodgers got it in his head that having Fofana for an extra 2 games wasn't worth doing. And they've took the 70 mil, and now they can't spend it. Just crazy to me. And then he was talking about Fofana, and he said, yeah, I've seen that message he gave on social media. Fofana didn't write that, but I'm not going to destroy a 21-year-old player who gave me everything when he was here. But that's someone else who controls his social media account, and I know because they've messaged me before. Are you a teenage girl, Rodgers? Are you talking about school? What the fuck are you babbling about, you prick? And this is the bottom line. I hope people start to see through Rodgers' bullshit. I told you, I despised that cunt from the moment he started trying to ingratiate himself to Liverpool fans, where he had a diabolical record, and all his friends in the media propped him up. When he started invoking the Hillsborough disaster to try and fucking go over with those fans, it's outrageous. It's not your tragedy. You shouldn't talk about it. You shouldn't be invoking it to try and win yourself over. The disgrace of Hillsborough is a stain, not just on football, but the British justice system, and you don't get to talk about it so you can score brownie points with fans because you want to keep your fucking job longer. Fuck you, Rodgers. So he's always been a fraud, literally obtained a job by fraudulent fucking means and had a fraudulent relationship with the fans. And now he's doing his standard. It's 2.5 years in at the football club he manages. Everything's going to shit. He doesn't have a plan. There's no plan B. He doesn't know how to improve, and he's looking for the exit. He's fucking piss weak. And I tell you what, Leicester should sack him. Get him out. Bring in a manager. I know it's going to sound terrible. Leicester might not like it. Sean Dyche is out there. He knows a thing or two about how to get a response from a player. And look, Leicester, whether you like it or not, I know we're only 6 games in. You're in a relegation battle, sunshine. You need to think now about who can keep you up and who can get these players to put their bodies on the line. So, Sean Dyche is a good shout. Rodgers out for me. And then was treated to a very interesting and intriguing game of football, and this will be the last talking point of the Prem review. Manchester United versus Arsenal. Now, obviously, Ten Hag have had a little bit of a resurgence. They've gone out, splashed some cash in the transfer market. Arsenal were unbeaten coming into this one. And let me tell you, this game was fantastic for a number of reasons. Wasn't always free-flowing, wasn't always a classic, but it had a spice to it. It had an undercurrent to it. It was reminiscent of the days when Fergie and Wenger used to go at it. Both sets of players were fucking up for this game like they were in days of old. And Arsenal, they kind of had some great football going forward, particularly in the second half. But in the first half, they didn't quite do enough. And obviously, their new Man United's new player, Anthony, 82 million, insane price tag. But Ten Hag obviously highly rates him. He scored on his debut. But then, what a response from Arsenal. When they got their equaliser from Saka, who had a much better game this time around, him and Martinelli were actually delivering, good balls into the box, which you haven't said that a lot this time. Gabriel Jesus showed he is a number 9. He will play like a number 9. He led the line incredibly again, putting himself about with defenders who I've just said at the start of the show. They don't give you any time. You're not having a good time with Martinez and Varane breathing down your back. Gabriel was amazing. Odegaard, obviously, as well. It was just unfortunate that Arteta made a managerial gambit. He made the decision to gamble. They really wanted to kick on and win the game. And when they were in complete control, one ball from Eriksen just split the Arsenal team, and Rashford was through, onside, gets his goal. After that, Arteta made some questionable substitutions that really put them kind of in a weird spot, and then it was all United to close out the game. I mean, to put it this way, do you deserve to win a game of football if Marcus Rashford scores twice past you? Probably not, right? But Manchester United under Ten Hag, they even gave Maguire 15, 20 minutes. And I'll say the unthinkable, I didn't hate McTominay in this game. I thought he put himself about and bled for the cause, and it was that type of game. Eriksen was on another level, though. Eriksen was man of the match for me. Fair play to him. But yeah, a fantastic game, a great advertisement for the up-and-coming managers in the Premier League, and proof that Ten Hag is the right man for the job at United. He has come out and basically dropped big names. He's using them sparingly. He said the right things. No one's guaranteed a game. He's made a couple of notable signings, quality. Although, yeah, Casemiro got a few kicks, and we're going to see what he's going to do. And I don't know how Fred still gets a game. Sancho looks to be better under Ten Hag than managers past. So look, at the end of the day, I'm feeling good about United kicking on up the league this season. I think they certainly look a lot better than some of the other teams that I might have put above them. And as long as they keep Maguire out of defence, as long as they don't cave into the whims of Ronaldo and start playing him because he ain't the same player he used to be. That's real talk. I think United are going to be okay. Now, the response from Arsenal, I think this is where it gets interesting. This is where they're going to be tested. Arsenal are sitting top of the league, 6 games played. Arsenal are up there. Old Trafford's always going to be a tough place to go and get a result at. Liverpool just found that out, as I said. I think the Manchester derby against City is going to be an interesting game. But for me, I think Arsenal are still looking pretty good this season. I think in terms of raw football, them and City are hands down the best 2 football teams I've seen this season. And I think Arsenal are going to get you'll get a response out of Arsenal, no bother. Their next game is going to be against Everton, I think it is. So at the end of the day, that should be a dunker. They're going to still be putting pressure on people at the league. The thing with Arsenal is, what happens if they get a few injuries? What happens if Gabriel Jesus gets injured? The worst case scenario. They're really walking on a tightrope for me in terms of squad depth. But all the signings they've made definitely did the best business in the transfer window out of any of the clubs, and really good value for being top of the league right now. Definitely deserve to be there. So super looking forward to see what their response is like, and whether there's a bit of steel in there and a bit of fire. I'm sure there will be. So there you have it. Prem review done.
He's the man to do the damage. Oh! And he looks